They say that experience is the great teacher. If in fact that's true, I've been in the classroom longer than anybody.
Welcome to Tony's Backstage Pass. This is a behind the scenes of the music industry where Tony strips back the curtain and shows you what really goes on. So tune in and tune up. It's gonna be a wild ride.
On this episode of Tony's Backstage Pass, I have two very special people. First, I want to introduce to you Jetgirl 888. We know her as Jessie Glennon. She's a huge influence, over 80,000 followers on social media. When you go to her channel, one thing you'll notice is she's bright and funny and talented. And yes, she has this obsession with Peavey. Everything Peavey, which brings us to our second guest later on. Right now, I want to introduce to you to a very special and talented young person, Jessie Glennon, Jetgirl 888.
Well, hi, I'm Jessie Glennon. Before I was the, guitarist that I am, I used to race jet skis for a living. And that is where the Jetgirl brand came from, because I was on a racing team with my sister, who is Jetgirl 777. When I was a freshman, I decided I didn't want to do jet skiing anymore. So I am now a basically full-time musician. Nice. I'm in a couple of bands. I'm in Coyote Bill and the Brood band. I play guitar and I sing for that band. And then I'm in the Troubadour Retrievers, and I fill in for Brandon Miller occasionally when he's on tour for Danielle Nicole. And then I am getting gigs anywhere I can, just filling up my schedule.
Fantastic. Wow, that's really cool. Well, thank you for being a part of the show today. Thank you for coming on board. We have a lot of friends in common in the industry. And today, really the one thing I wanted to jump in on with us, you and I have this Peavey connection. We have a Josh Vitek connection as well, who also has a Peavey connection. And so we know a lot of the same people. As I got to know and follow you, you're super talented, you're busy. You're doing tons of stuff, and it's impressive and it's inspiring. Being in the industry, this is not an easy industry. It's a lot of work, as you know. And I didn't know about the jet ski thing. I mean, that's amazing that you made that switch. And was that a gradual thing, or just one day you were like, I'm going to be a musician?
I wasn't horrific at it. I wasn't bad. I have a U.S. National championship, and then I think a second place national championship in Canada.
Oh.
But my sister is definitely the more she's the real jet skier. She has
Really?
a world championship and I think 8 or 9 national championships, and it just never really felt like it was like my thing. It was kind of like a family thing to do, but I was like, I don't know. So I just never really felt like I fit in there. But I had always been interested in music, particularly the drums. But Mom didn't want a drum set in the house. She was like, well, I'll compromise with the guitar. And so I was like, okay, I'll learn the guitar. It just kind of went from there, because I kind of just found something, like you said, that I was really passionate about, and then I felt really driven to do. And I was like, okay, jet skiing didn't work, but this feels like it really works. Now I have 2 drum sets, so Mom did not.
Oh, okay. And it seemed like it took off, because the social media thing, your generation's like, this is just how it is. This is a tool that we have to use. You've had it your whole life, so you know how to go in and go, okay, well, I got to have a page. I got to show off. I have to be a personality. You've kind of built a brand. Maybe not even thinking that I'm building a brand, you know what I mean? Now you have all these amazing followers, and they seem very loyal.
Yes.
What I liked about your page is that it's you. You're just very humble and talented, and you're just like, this is where I learned this. And then you're just shredding on the guitar, and it's like, oh, she doesn't even know how good she really is. The guitar you have behind you is that like a T15 or something?
Oh, that is my T30.
What is it?
My T30.
It's a T30. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, they didn't make too many of those. Wow. Actually, I'll show you. Since you have that there, I actually have one here that I wanted to show you that I have.
Oh, awesome.
This particular guitar, it's a Vandenberg. of course,
Yeah.
But this particular one was actually Adrian Vandenberg's personal guitar from Whitesnake. And Hartley Peavey gave me this guitar. And it's amazing. It's an amazing instrument. And I don't gig with it. I use it in the studio. It still has all I don't know if you can see all his belt buckle wear and all. Yeah. So this was one of his actual guitars. And I still kept the strings that he had when he sent it to Peavey. And the story I was told, how this came back to Peavey, it came in for some repair. I think there was a bridge issue, and they sent him another guitar. But this is a little bit of rock and roll, little history here. But I wanted to show you because I know you're a Peavey fan, and I'm a Peavey fan, and we both have but that's rare what you have there, that T30. Yeah. Wow, that is really cool. Hartley used to tell this joke all the time when we would talk about some of the older guitars, and he goes, oh, that's alpaca wood. And I'm like, what? Alpaca wood. And I'm like, what is that? He goes, it's the wood we found out back, of the shop. And I'm like, come on, So he's a funny guy like that, But so what got you into the Peavey thing? Was it from your dad?
I would probably say so. I don't really have any musicians in my family. But my dad, he played guitar maybe for a couple months, back when he was a kid. He had always seen the 80s stuff because he really loves music. So he was always all the Van Halen stuff. Peavey was one of those brands that he knew from his childhood. So when I started collecting things, he would kind of point me in the right direction because he's like, oh, this was this was the top thing when I was a kid, or it's everybody online says this is cool. And so I'm trying to think of what the first Peavey thing I got. I think it was a Peavey Viper. One of their digital modeling amps.
Yeah.
And it was one of their kind of small ones. And I just thought it was kind of neat. And I think that kind of started it. And I feel because Josh kind of really introduced me, I think I might have met Fred first, Fred Poole.
Yeah.
My dad was like, yeah, she's got all this kind of stuff that I had, I think about 3 full stacks by then. And so I just kind of got to talking to him. And then he just was like, you know what, why don't you come out to NAMM for us? Why don't you come check out our stuff, do some content and videos with us, and just kind of really actually get to see their gear outside of just their vintage stuff, and just really see their company as a whole. And I think that really solidified them as one of my favorite brands. Oh, these are the guys who make all the guitars and the amps that I like. They're telling me I'm cool, and it was just kind of this cool experience. I really like this brand. I've always really enjoyed their guitars. My favorite one as of right now is my Peavey Riptide, which is their kind of Telecaster one.
Mm-hmm.
I play that one quite a bit, and a lot of people are always like, oh, that must be your favorite. So it's definitely, I've been playing it quite a lot. So
that's a great guitar. And Peavey's like that. That's what I like about working in this end of the industry is where you've been to NAMM. You just walk in the booth, and some booths, you walk in and you just feel like I'm not wanted here. The guys are just too cool, and they make you feel weird. But then other companies, and Peavey's one of these companies where you walk in and they're just very inviting. Maybe it's a Southern thing, I don't know. But they're always been very hey, check this out. How you doing? That kind of thing. Since this episode's going to air with Hartley and everything, is there any message, and Hartley will see this, so is there anything from your standpoint, anything you'd like to say to Hartley, anything about the industry, any message you want to give them?
Please bring the T-Series back so I can buy more. I think overall, just because he's kind of he's the PV. He is the man. I think he's totally awesome. He kind of made this brand what it is. It's hard to explain. It's fangirl moment kind of thing. Knowing that somebody who I respect so much in the industry, who has really been in charge of making all of the stuff that I have been absolutely in love with since I first started playing. The guy who's in charge of the brand that makes the T-Series stuff, which I play them all the time. I've got 4 of them, and like I've got my Peavey Mantis guitars. I've got my 5 Peavey stack amps, and it just feels so cool knowing that he knows my name. So I really appreciate everything kind of that he's done, just kind of making this, like you said, USA brand. It feels homey almost kind of with me. It feels like I'm part of the family almost. And just to kind of feel that with a brand that's so significant, especially during some of like the eras where I like the music I enjoy, kind of like, the 70s and 80s. It feels just really cool just to feel like I'm involved in that.
And also that it's a real guy. I mean, a lot of these brands now, they're not run by the families anymore, although he's the last of the Mohicans, actually. He's the last, you know what I mean? I mean, Jim Marshall's not with us anymore. There's no more Leo Fender. I mean, Fender's not Fender anymore. It's all corporations and all this. And you still have this one guy from Meridian, Mississippi. And like you said, he's responsible. His hands are in everything. And that's the one thing I always tell people. He's not some figurehead that they, roll out at an AM show and he waves and then get him out of here, right? Yeah. He is involved. He will tell you things about every product because he's in on all the development.
I've met a lot of different companies. I've talked to a lot of people Josh has introduced me to. And I feel like nobody really felt like the same way that Peavey did for me. So like that was just like one of those things that was just super important.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you. I appreciate. Thank you for your time and good luck. You're killing it. You're doing amazing. So if there's anything we can do to help in any way, just give us a holler.
Thank you.
My next guest is celebrating a milestone anniversary this year. I'd like to congratulate Peavey Electronics for celebrating their 60 years of innovation.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go! I have a little bit of a tie to Peavey, so I'm a little partial. I got to go back and interview my old boss. How many of us get to do that? He actually let me back in the doors and interview him. And I wanted you to see the person that I got to see and I got to work with every day. Hartley Peavey is the last man standing. When you talk about the icons of the music industry, the Leo Fenders, the George Washburns, the Jim Marshalls, you cannot not say Hartley Peavey. And he is still ahead of this corporation 60 years later. He is the head driver of the whole thing. And my boss and now my friend, I'd like to introduce you to the man, the legend, the last man standing, Mr. Hartley Peavey. Hartley.
How you doing, young man?
How are you?
Great to see you. It's been a while.
It has, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Thank you for doing this today. I appreciate it.
Happy to do it. Well, there's an interesting story about Peavey. It's kind of a Cinderella story in many ways.
Well, that's what people don't know. And that's why I want people to see the man that I know.
Well, it's been an adventure. And every day I've learned something.
Really?
Something good, something bad.
Right.
But it's been an educational experience, and good God, mistakes are learning opportunities, actually. And they say that experience is the great teacher. If in fact that's true, I've been in the classroom longer than anybody. And I never knew that would happen.
Right.
I never knew that would happen.
Well, you're the last man standing.
Well, of the old amp guys, that's probably
you are.
That's probably true. And when I started
of the
out,
legends.
Everybody said that I was crazy. In retrospect, they might have been correct.
I don't think
but
so.
But the fact is, the thing that has always separated Peavey from our competitors, not that, the founders didn't have it, is, I guess, passion. A lot of people do what they do just for the money. And I'm not saying that money is not important,
Right.
But to me, it's the passion for doing stuff. And the best way to get me to do something is tell me I can't do it.
Oh yeah.
It's my
I thought
it's my
that's
rebel
your-
it's my rebel heritage, and that's basically why we've been able to accumulate a little north of 180 patents. And I've never done a study of that, but I think that's probably more patents than all of our friendly competitors
Oh,
put together
absolutely.
in our end of the music and sound business.
Right. I know you're humble. You won't say it, but let me say it.
Okay.
You know, Peavey Electronics is an international, one of the top instrument manufacturers in the world. Okay. You hold 180 patents, hundreds of millions of dollars in sales every year, very successful, and still run, by the way, by the originator and owner.
But I'm slowly easing out.
Well, God bless you.
No,
That's good, though.
After 58 years, I kind of think that we need some fresh blood, and we do. We have some guys that younger, not young people. My stepson is actually running the company
Right.
on a day-to-day basis. I'm still involved in the creative part, but the day-to-day running, it's just not what I enjoy doing.
But during my tenure, when I was here, you were the first guy here and the last one to leave always.
Well,
your energy was inspiring, I got to tell you.
Well, that comes from what I said a while ago, passion. Sadly, a lot of my competitors, they are not in the business for the joy of creating something new. Like, you know, we've never done so-called reissues.
Right.
And people have been after me to do reissues.
I bugged you for how long,
Well,
too?
they say, well, why don't you do reissues everybody else does?
yeah.
To me, reissues is kind of an unspoken statement that our old stuff is better than our new stuff. My new stuff
See, that's
is
interesting.
light years ahead of what
and
we
you're
did.
always looking forward.
Always looking forward.
You're
This is why when we got to the point back in the early 70s where we could make reliable solid state amplifiers, 2, 3, 4, 500 watts or so,
Yeah.
I blew out so many of so-called premium speakers, and I would go to, you know, JBL or EV or Altec or wherever and beg them to do this, that, and they wouldn't do it. So in utter desperation, we started making our own speakers. This is where the Black Widow came from.
Right.
Black Widow, as you know, is our premium speaker, that and Scorpion. And they have field replaceable voice coils and cones. And if you're in Nigeria and you blow a speaker, you're out of luck.
Right.
Not with Peavey. Take out 4 bolts, 3 bolts, boom, you're back in business. When I started this craziness, my father was a music dealer, as you know. He was a saxophone player. He graduated in 1932, which was the middle of the Depression. He couldn't find a job, so he ended up playing saxophone in a swing band.
Ooh, cool.
He did that for a few years. In 1938, he came back to Meridian and opened a retail store. He met my mother in 1939, and I think they got married later that year. I came along in 1941, so I was literally raised in a music store.
Right.
And my dad to say that he was conservative would be an understatement. He was very frugal in every sense of the word. He could squeeze a nickel until the buffalo screamed. Anyway, I went to work in his store when I was in the 7th grade, and I got to do all the things that, you know, nobody else wanted to do, like take out the trash.
Right.
But I ended up ordering records because he said, well, you know what the kids want. He sold sheet music and pianos and stereo, not stereo at that time, it was mono, but record players, that kind of thing. And I ordered the 45s, all the, you know, with the big holes. I never will forget when I when I first heard What Did I Say, I played it until the needle almost went through the vinyl. But he wanted me to be in the band. And he told me, he said, son, if you'll get in the band, I'll buy you a car.
Oh.
Well, I had no interest in being in the band, but I had lots of interest in having a car. And I did get in the band playing trumpet, last chair. And my dad, true to form, bought me a car.
Nice.
And later that year, I went to a Bo Diddley concert in Laurel, Mississippi, which is, I guess, about 50 miles south. And Bo was there in full form. He was playing I think it was as I remember, it was a Les Paul special with, the flat top version, covered in rabbit fur. and he was jumping all over the stage, and I was fascinated. So I went back and told my dad, I said, Dad, I want to play guitar. He said, son, you don't want to play guitar. Guitar players are lousy. They don't pay their bills. I should have listened to him.
You know better than
Well, I asked him to give me a guitar. And he says, well, son, I'll get you some lessons, and if you learn how to play, I'll think about giving you one. But I'm not going to give you one unless you learn how to play it. Well, I took a few lessons, and I didn't like having to go through all that, so I discontinued that. But I kept pestering my dad for a guitar. Very, very conservative. And he, from this perspective, I see what he was talking about, but I thought he was mighty selfish. But he was basically teaching me how to work. And I ended up piecing an old guitar together with a Dan Electro neck and a homemade body. And it wasn't much, but it was a guitar. And the first one actually was a classical guitar that, as I recall, it was a Suzuki. And I didn't know that you couldn't put steel strings on an acoustic guitar, so I proceeded to do that. And that was my introduction to guitar repair. But I wanted a pickup, and pickups back then, the only aftermarket pickups were D. Armands to put on a hollow body guitar. And they were $39. Well, might as well have been $39,000 because I couldn't afford it. So I ordered 6 magnets from Poplar Science Classifieds and set at our dining room table with number 38 wire and hand wound the pickup.
Really?
And it weighed about a pound, and the magnets were 1/4 inch in diameter, but it worked. So I had a guitar, had a pickup. Guess what else I wanted? Dad? Amplifier. Yeah. Son, when you learn to play, I'll think about getting you an amplifier, but not until. Well, that was not good enough for me, so I proceeded to build my own first one.
So you never intended, like, that's what's funny, what people may think about, Peavey Electronics. It's really your dad saying no, and forced you to have to figure out how are these things made.
I've often wondered what would have happened if he had actually given me a guitar.
Exactly.
Well, necessity is the mother of invention.
Exactly.
So I built my own, and they were pretty bad. But I built several for my friends, and I started learning a little bit about circuitry. Actually, when I was in high school, I took every shop course I could. I took 4 semesters of machine shop. I could run a milling machine, a surface grinder, a lathe. Cool. And I made everything from tremolo mechanisms for guitars to zip guns and cannons and everything.
So that's just how your mind worked.
Well,
you love that.
I didn't realize it at the time. I believe that human beings come into this world with a certain set of talents, abilities, proclivities. It doesn't matter what, it's gifts. And most people are good at something, Actually, my dad was a wonderful musician. He wrote the fight song for Mississippi State for the princely sum of $50. There was a contest in 1938.
I re-recorded that song.
Did you?
For the stadium.
Really?
So you hear me, that's me playing guitar with it. And they never paid me.
Well,
so at least your dad got $50.
My dad actually got paid about every 3 or 4 years. He'd get a check for $6 or $7, which he laughingly called his retirement fund.
That's great.
It was residuals from sheet music for Hale, Minnesota State. I had the original manuscript, but after my dad died in '98, it kind of disappeared. So I don't know. That's a sad story.
That
But
money's got to be sitting there somewhere.
it's somewhere, but I can't lay my hands on it. Anyway, long story short, I spent a lot of time trying to be a guitar player. And the truth is I was a horrible guitar player. But back then, and maybe to some degree still, if you sound like the record, people think you're good. But what I did is I took a 45, the ones with the big hole, slowed it down to 33, and very meticulously, in a robotic manner, learned the licks. It'd take me 3 months to learn a song, but when I played it sounded like the record, and there were actually people who thought I was good. I was
Well, I'm
awful.
sure you were.
If you want to jam, forget it. I knew no theory, but you know,
Right.
I was a robotic player. Like all of us human beings, we all like to feel sorry for ourselves. And you know, after I got kicked out of the first band, well, I went to practice one day and they said, well, look, we're gonna so-and-so here is gonna sit in with us and you know, out. But being the eternal optimist, in about 3 months, I got with another bunch and we formed a little group, played a few dormitory parties for $50 and all the beer we could drink.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened again. And I said, whoa, into every life a little rain must fall. So a little later on, I got with another group and they just flat kicked me out. This was in the spring of 1964. And one day I looked in the mirror and I said, well, sport, it looks like you're not going to be a rock star. What are you going to do?
Hi, this is Tony Pasco. Earlier this year, I traveled to Ethiopia and taught 2 music classes with an organization called Next Level Worship. This was my first time in Ethiopia, and it was a life-changing adventure. The countryside is beautiful, filled with beaches, mountains, hot springs, and lots of wildlife. The food is really good, and the coffee is out of this world. But what makes Ethiopia so special is the Ethiopian people. They are loving and kind. They express their joy through song, dance, and their energy is infectious. If you are looking to go on mission, then please check out my friends at Next Level Worship. Thank you.
This week, we're going out into villages telling children about Jesus. It's an awesome time, and the donors, the ones who prayed for us, we thank God for you. We couldn't do this without you. So our team and our students here at our mega intensive school have something to say to you right now.
Using all the glass of water, keeping all the liquor away from me, 'cause I can see myself start falling, so please, Lord, watch over me. I can feel a certain feeling starting to get the better of me, but the road ahead is of my choosing, so please, Lord, watch over me. Yeah. Na, 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 na.
I was too stupid or naive to realize what my talent was. I wanted to be a musician,
Yeah.
but that was not my gift. My gift was building. Well, I'd had all these shop courses, 2 semesters of sheet metal, mechanical drawing, basic electricity, advanced electricity, radio or electronics, and I could build anything. Word got around when I was in high school that I could repair things, you know.
Right.
This one guy who had a jukebox operation, he called me up and he said, Peavey, can you fix jukeboxes? And I said, well, I don't know. I've never worked on one. So I went out to see him, and jukebox electronics were simple, 2 6L6s and a 6SN7. And so I fixed a few of his jukeboxes, and he would give me the old 78s off the machines. This is how I learned to have an appreciation from the blues. I mean, I collected, by the time I was a senior in high school, I had 4 stacks about that tall in the back of my closet. I came home one weekend, I think my sophomore year, and opened the closet, and half of them were gone. I said, Mom, what happened to my blues records? She said, well, you rarely ever listen to them, so I sold them at a yard sale. Oh. Anyway, that's where I kind of got a taste for the blues.
And it was all around you here.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Let's not people forget, you grew up here in Mississippi.
Well, a lot of people.
This is the home of American music.
Well, people don't realize that most forms of American music came out of this general area.
Yeah.
From right along the Mississippi River, from New Orleans, Fats Domino and Little Richard and all those people, all the way up to St. Louis, Chuck Berry and all that. Rock and roll didn't start in LA or New York, or it started here. Right. And I was part of it. When you came in, you asked me about all the pictures of Peavey. Yeah. Peavey was a Cinderella story too. Yeah. He was a sharecropper, and the white family that he lived with, they actually bought him a guitar, and he hitchhiked to Memphis and went to work for the black station there, which was WDIA. Actually, B.B. King has always been one of my idols. Oh, and me and two of my dormitory mates, when I was going to Ole Miss, we went to Memphis to the WDIA Goodwill Review. Wow. And the three of us were the only white people there. And this is 61, but I got to see my idol B.B. King play.
I bet he was great.
There's a lot of musicians from this part of the world. Bo Diddley is actually born in the Delta. And I talked the governor into naming Highway 61 the Blues Highway. And because I was afraid Memphis was going to do it.
And you have a blues marker right outside your building here?
When they were building the B.B. King Museum in Indianola, a call went out for old B.B. King records. And one of his first labels, if not his first label, was RPM. Yeah. I had 13 of them. Oh. They're now hanging on the wall of the B.B. King Museum.
Oh, okay.
In Clarksdale. That was an interesting thing. Actually, I've met B.B. several times since then. He was a perfect gentleman. He told me, he says, well, I've been doing this for a long time. And when I first had an idea that maybe I had made it, he says, I was playing, I think he said Fillmore West. He says, I went out and did my set. He said, the stage was lit. It was dark outside. And he said, I stood back behind the curtain, and when the lights went up, he said, most of the people in there were white folks. So he said, I realized then that just maybe. So I thought that was a neat story. Yeah. And I was proud of that for him. Yeah. Because he was quite a gentleman. So that fateful day in 1964, when I decided that I would never be a rock star, it kind of changed my life. And every musician that I'd ever met up until that time, they basically said, I wish somebody would make good gear at a fair price. Well, I saw what was out there, and I thought that I could do better. The music industry has had what I call a cowpath mentality. Somebody will do something and everybody will
just follows.
I've never been a follower. Mm-mm. I always tried to make it better. And I think we have. I told you we started making our own loudspeakers because I couldn't buy speakers that would hold up. Right. I was one of Eminence's first customers. And I begged the owner, Bob Galt, I begged him to do this and that to speakers, and he wouldn't do it. He knew how to do it, but he wouldn't do it. So in utter frustration, I started doing it myself. Today, many, many, many decades after we came out with our Black Widow, with field replaceable cone voice coil assembly, it wasn't patented. None of my competitors do it that way because it costs $5 or $6 more to have such tight tolerances that you can take a basket assembly now and put it on a loudspeaker that we made in 1976. Wow. Nobody else can do that. Why do we do it that way? Well, I don't have to answer to a board of directors. If I decide that that's the way it ought to be done, that's what we do. And
I was telling the crew, this is a funny story. One time I argued with you about something that I thought we should do when I worked here.
Everything he argued.
And you walked me outside and you pointed to the sign and he said, does that say Pasco on there? And I was like, no, sir,
Well, the difference is, and Tony, I've made countless mistakes, and learn from them, hopefully. But I want people to stretch. I want them to grow. And
Right.
so what I've tried to do is to set an example. And sometimes it's worked. Most of the time it's worked. But my managerial style is I find somebody with some talent. I tell them what we need to do, and then I walk away. Laissez-faire, they call it in marketing, hands off. And that's been my managerial style. Now, arguing, as you know, we argue a lot around here.
A lot of passion.
And if somebody's, well, most of the people here, like my engineering team, they're all players.
Yeah.
And we get in there, and every player, as you know, has his or her own idea of how things should be.
Yeah.
And what I try to do is, you know, sometimes I have to be the moderator, and yes, sometimes I have to remind people whose name is on the door, because it's me that's
right.
taking the chance.
Right.
But I'd rather take a chance and make something better than merely just copy what somebody else has done. So I've always been a gun collector, and I've always been fascinated with the fit and finish of a mass-produced rifle, like a Remington or whatever.
Yeah.
If you look at a Remington 700, let's say, you can't slip a sheet of paper between the metal and the wood. And I said, you know, whatever kind of machine they use to make those rifle stocks, I can make guitar necks that way. So we found out that it was called a copy lathe. And they didn't make them in this country. I bought one from Germany that could make 4 necks in about 5 minutes, which was pretty slick. And they were probably 85% done.
Yeah.
They had to do final sanding.
But they were all the exact,
They were identical.
Identical.
Later on,
Which, by the way, everybody now who makes guitars
Oh, yeah.
do it that way.
Well,
so
yeah,
you started
I did,
that whole method.
but everybody told me I was crazy. As a matter of fact, one of my older competitors said in an interview, I know that you can't make guitars with machines. But the fact is, we were making guitar parts
Right.
with machine.
Yeah.
Because they make diesel engines that way to 10,000ths of an inch tolerances. We settle on about 1,000ths of an inch. And if you're a great, very talented woodworker, if you can hold a 32nd of an inch, you're doing really well.
Yeah.
But you see, if we eliminated the slop, then we would eliminate all that hand work. So for the bodies, I bought a router profiler, and it not only went in X and Y, it also was vertical. So this is when we designed the T-Series with Chip Todd.
Yeah.
Chip was a
Cool guy.
Chip was a very interesting individual. I say he is. He was a mechanical engineer, and I found out about him because he had opened a guitar shop, repair shop over in Houston, and he knew Billy Gibbons and a lot of folks. And Chip was an amazing guy. He could make one of anything. I had a master machinist that helped us build all the machines and put them all together. And this Ekstrom Carlson was very interesting because it had 3 great big old motors, and it had 6 workstations. And while one side was cutting, you could unload, put the body blanks there, and the machine never stopped moving. One person could do about 250 guitar bodies in an 8-hour day, and about 200 bass bodies. And because a bass body was bigger, we could only do about 200 of those. But one man could do that, and the machine was doing all the work. And then we actually had a robot doing the buffing. Most of my friendly competitors have been through multiple ownership. I've watched all the things that they've done. I tried not to make the same mistakes, but in all candor, I found a few that they didn't make. I made them first. But anyway, we built the first guitar ever made with computerized machinery. And everybody said I was crazy.
But you did it.
But they're all doing it now.
Yes.
I mean, I see in some of the magazines, this company, that company. A lot of
companies that said they would never do it are doing it.
Well, that's the way it should be done. Everything else is done that way.
Right.
Your car engine is made on computerized machines and the body and all that. But back then it was unknown and crazy. But I've always done that.
So I did some research before I saw you, because there was a couple of things I wanted to go over, some just points I wanted to make. Now, I know you've won lots of awards. People have honored you. You know, you got the Governor's Award here in Mississippi and all that beautiful stuff. What I was shocked, though, you have not received a Grammy, or have you? I know they have the Grammy Awards here in Mississippi.
We were very, no pun intended, instrumental in bringing the
Grammys.
The Grammy Museum here.
Yes.
And they put the museum, I think it's in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Do you know how much Peavey sound equipment is in the Grammy Museum? Zero.
See, now, okay, now I want to bring that up because Leo Fender got a technical Grammy.
Yeah.
You know, Jim Marshall got a technical Grammy. Hartley Peavey is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Peavey has not received a technical Grammy for all your contributions. I mean, to me, I think at this stage, you know, of Peavey being around, you know what I mean? You're one of the largest instrument manufacturers in the world.
Well, but you know, I have had a lot of honors. Like I got to put my hands in the Rock Walk in LA and all that. But I mean, all that's good. But at the end of the day, awards are appreciated, but I don't put.
I know you don't. I know none of that matters
Tony,
to you.
there's a lot of politics going on with all that, and
I get mad.
I
get upset.
I am, if anything, non-political. Okay.
Well, that's true.
So
that's
I
true.
I don't like politics. I've often said that if I were from California, I would be a guru, but I'm from Mississippi, so I'm a redneck.
Anything else that we missed or anything you want to?
Well, Tony, the best we can hope to do as human beings is to make a difference, hopefully for the better.
Yeah.
I've given people opportunities. I've let them buy houses and cars, and you know, some of these folks around here have been with me for 30 years.
Right.
I'm fond of saying we don't just build things, we build people.
You do.
And the important thing is I've given people chances in a little southern town where chances were few and far between. But, you know, it's been a damn interesting ride, I got to say.
That's cool.
But the good part is it's not over yet.
So what's the future hold then? Where do you see this going in the next few years?
It's splintering. You've got the people who will never play anything but a tube amp regardless, as long as they're tubes. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, some of the digital things that we can do today, even 10 years ago would have been magic. I mean, it's amazing.
But that's good that you're still active, you're still involved as much as you want to be now. Now you control how much.
I kind of believe that your brain is just like your body. If you don't use it, you lose it. So I'm active. I read constantly. At one time, I had over 200 magazine subscriptions. I mean, you know, Premier Guitar Player, you know, Industry Week and Aerospace Technology.
Technical magazine. You read a lot of technical stuff.
If I go in the metal shop and I'm talking to the guy and he mentions something, if he says, well, I need another OBI press, I need to know what that is.
Yeah.
So I do.
You stay very current. It's not like you're reading, you know, like the Soap Opera Digest.
Well, you know, all of us have a fear of becoming obsolete. I don't want to be obsolete. But my uncle, one of my best of kinfolks I had, retired at age 62. He went home, didn't go anywhere. In 5 years, you couldn't have a conversation with him. So.
I know, I like when I called you and you were working on your boat and you're like, I ain't got time, Tony. I got to let you go. I'll call you back. I'm in the middle of something. I love that. At 80 years old, 81.
Well, I mean, sometime unless I get out and I'm handling heavy stuff, I forget that I'm not 18. But then the next day I realize I'm not 18. But as long as the good Lord lets me, I'm going to keep it up.
That's great.
I'm going to keep it up, and hopefully continue to make a difference.
Well, I think that's a great way to end it. And
okay.
So,
well, thank you, young man.
I appreciate it. Thank you for everything.
But the technology is already there.
All right, wait, stay there. I gotta do a over the shoulder too. Hold on. All right, hold on.